Well, the mark of the beast is your behavior, isn't it?
Yes.
It would be behavior. I never thought of that before, but it seems like come up in my mind that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the mark of the beast you can see in people, but it doesn't mean to say that they're hopeless. Some people enjoyed the mark of the beast. We know what it's trying to say. It's a fancy way of saying. Because human beings, when they lose their virtues, become bestial, they become less than human.
Mm-hmm.
We think that emotions, we humans, somehow think that emotions is good, and it isn't. I ask you every time, watch your emotions until they go away. And they won't go away if you think your emotions can cure your problem. Because lots of people, when they get very angry, they feel very powerful, even if they're little weenies. Somehow the idea of being angry is godlike. Not that it is godlike, but you know what I mean. They feel a strength that is powerful. I'm angry, see? And it seems like a way of protecting yourself. If it is, and so the beast inside always gives you those silly ideas, sort of hypnotically. The whole purpose of your life is awareness. And we're sitting in a tall timber ranch. You look around you. If you be aware, hold on to that awareness. While you're aware, you can see things. You can see the flowers, the trees, the bees. You can see people's motivations. You can see that you cannot see tomorrow or the next second. You can see only what you see now. So if you see a blade of grass or something catches your eye because you're conscious and not lost in your head, it's an appreciation of existence. And I don't think any animal can understand that where do I get my awareness from? Now you say, well, dogs and cats and monkeys, they have awareness. But they don't. They don't have awareness as we do. They're just machines. We can actually take, it won't be long before you can actually make a human being, or a human being a creature like a human being. It's a robot. And it will look like it has awareness. It doesn't have awareness. See? You can actually give it feelings, I suppose. It's not that hard. It's just an impulse, electrical impulse. Oh, don't touch me, But it doesn't mean to say it has an awareness. Awareness is human. And awareness is where God lives. He's the one that makes you aware. Aware of what? Aware of the universe, aware of the surroundings, your particular surroundings, and appreciate them. But appreciate them isn't saying, appreciate. It's just a way of saying nothing. It's just being aware is absolutely nothing. It means there's nothing from you, inside you, that worries you, upsets you, makes you afraid, has anxiety. Of yourself you do nothing. And I don't know why Christians are taught that Jesus is God, because he clearly says, of myself I can do nothing, the Father within me doth it. How do they get that? How do they not hear that? No, because they're programmed. They actually don't. When they get to read that part, they don't see it. But I'm a Jewish boy, so I'm not caught up in the church, even though Jesus is my Savior. Okay, so I didn't have. I don't know if I'm a Christian, but if I love this man, I recognize this man from the scriptures. I can see that he saw what nobody else could see. See? But then I begin to see what nobody else sees anyway, because when Jesus says, "Be thee therefore perfect," immediately those teachers and rabbis, rabbis not so much because they don't believe in Christianity, but immediately they say, "Oh no, it doesn't mean that. Be you therefore perfect." Nobody can be perfect. Only God can be perfect. See, and or Jesus be perfect, but he never said he was perfect. He never said he was God. He made it very clear that. So therefore, what he had was an awareness. An awareness is a gift, and a gift that says that blade of grass. How did that happen? I don't see any cow saying, "Wow, I wonder how that blade of grass grow. What is that? What is life?" And look at the animals and the trees and the flowers and the bees. Wonder what that is. I can sit, sometimes, no, my wife is not well, so we sit and we don't go anywhere. And a little TV, having to watch recently a lot. And I think I've been very helpful in the way the Donald Trump was able to get where he is, see, because I spent a lot of money, your money, to get 10.5 million people to look at a small video. And that made a huge shock of awakening. It verified what people. So there were other people that couldn't see it. They can't even notice the blade of grass. They can't recognize it. They don't notice it. It's just grass. To me, a blade of grass is magic. Something made that. And so everything I look at. So I'm into science. See. I'm also into the Bible, but I don't need the Bible. I haven't read the Bible for God knows how long. But if you bring me a statement in the Bible, a line or two, I remember it, I understand it, and I appreciate it. But I don't need to read it all the time. The Bible is inside me. I'm the living Bible. So when I read the Bible, I said, "Oh yes, somebody wrote that. That makes sense." See?
One thing I wonder,
but I don't learn it.
Is the meditation prayer?
Meditation is, well, you could call it that. But how about a prayer that is forever? In other words, it isn't language. Awareness isn't language. It allows for language, the language of God, which is intuition. And so if you're born in Germany or Israel, see, then the language of intuition is translated into the words. In other words, there's so many languages, right? But because we're human, we just have to wait making noises that mean something, which is quite remarkable. I mean, we have a vocabulary of about 20,000 words, and and my vocabulary is getting disappearing. But as it's disappearing, all the Costco disappears. That's not something to wonder about, you see, even though it's important. I'm only interested in what he wants me to see. I see everything, and with that seeing everything, a blade of grass, a grasshopper, whatever it is, whatever that is, I know that something made it, and he made it for me, and I know that what is similar to what God does is an artist who likes to paint pictures. And he paints not for himself, he paints for other than himself, correct? And therefore we both are happy. See, we both appreciate. But we don't want to put the painter or the artist on a pedestal, because that will kill him. You can't take credit for what the gift that God gives you. I have lots of gifts, and yet people wonder about, well, how do you know so much? The truth is, I don't know anything. I never went to school. Well, I went to school, didn't learn much. You say, to hell with that, to hell with that, to hell with that. You know, yeah, I don't remember learning much in school. I don't like to be told what to think. See, I don't want to memorize anything. And as I get older, my vocabulary shrinks. Even my science shrinks. But strangely enough, I get to see more, because I get rid of all the unnecessary words, the fancy words. If you watch the TV and you see what a great vocabulary they have, I can understand every word they say, but I haven't got a vocabulary like that. I don't know. It gets in the way. I have a way of just being, which speaks. It has a way of conveying. If you meet me, pardon me. If you meet me and you meet me for the first time, and you look at me and I look at you, there's language between us, because it radiates, and so does the mark of the beast. It radiates, and you've got to be very careful. So when the mark of the beast, in your language, we understand that it's in a person. It's not in the trees or the flowers or the bees. It's in the person, and you see the mark of that beast in that person, and it wants you to respond to it, because you can't worship two masters. If you respond to it, you have now anxiety, because you've been disconnected from your true self and connected to your untrue self, and it becomes a self, and you can't see what you've lost. All you have is anxiety, and then you have all the people who want to fix you. The more educated you are, the more stupid you are as far as God is concerned. So my vocabulary is less. But my awareness is, I only need the words to bring you. Look, I haven't used any fancy words with you. See, I've just used simple, basic English, and yet I can say anything I want with it. But if you ask me, something, well, I'll find a way of saying it, but much more. There's lots of fancy words that, most of us could. If you look at the TV and the language, you can understand them. But you don't want to be so erudite. See, that's another word I would wish to forget. See, it seems to be so clever. They seem to know so much. They seem to babble all day long. They seem to ask questions and get somebody to answer a question. But what enamors most people is the language of how they express themselves so quickly. But they're not really saying a whole lot. When you talk about Trump, when you talk about, Obama, you can see in a minute this man is the man. And you see Obama from the very beginning. And the reason why we have a terrible problem, if we had not won the election this time, we would have been gone forever. We had to make those terrible mistakes, and by the skin of our teeth, we won our country back. And there's a certain few people that have been doing that, and I'm one of them. See, I'm only paying a little piece of it, but enough to make it, to extend it to the edge, over the edge, where we win. And so, my work is to help you become aware. I can't make you aware, because I haven't got the power to make you aware. But if I'm aware, there's a disturbance with the unaware. In other words, he shouldn't be unaware, but he doesn't know it until he is in contrast with somebody who is aware. You see that? And so therefore there's a war. And you don't have to fight that war. The awareness is what it is, and the unawareness is the opposite of what is. See? And now, does that answer the question?
I had something just flipping in my head.
What?
I was talking to you about the rapture, and you said there is no such thing.
What is a rapture? Oh, it seems like a rupture.
But it means that you're going to be protected through the bad times?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I would say yes. It's a rapture in a positive way. A rupture is not so positive. A rapture is something wonderful, isn't it? Yeah, but we don't know what the wonderful thing is. I would say if you can come upon what I'm representing, hopefully represent, then you would have a rapture. And that's what happened the other day, last week. You had this thing inside you, right? And you thought you needed an exorcism.
Yes.
And you didn't really need, all you needed was to recognize what I've said and what I represent.
Scared it out of me.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And you'd be surprised that now you're going to have a different influence on people. They won't have the influence on you. Your very existence, so you don't have to say much.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there. So you can sit next to a person who's got a rupture instead of a rupture.
Yeah.
He will scare the kabibis out of him, see.
The only reason I asked was, it was just that's stuck in my mind from prior days, being in the church and what. And memorizing, the Bible, so to speak.
You don't want to memorize.
No. I mean, when I was young, growing up in the church, I'm not there anymore.
But what you got, what you got is stuck there in some places.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you live it, when you start to live it, then you may come across a preacher on the television, and all of a sudden he brings up a certain paragraph which is essential for your well-being. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody else is sitting like this, right?
Yeah.
And trying to remember everything and feeling like like the Christians already, just because he's listening to this person, he's a Christian. And he can memorize it and stand up there as an actor on the stage, and everybody gives him a cheer because he knows so much about the Bible. It's not the way it is. This spirit. I know the Bible from one end to the other in a flash. No, I haven't studied it. I've read it. I haven't read all of it. I like the first part, at Adam and Eve. Excuse me. I learned the first part. I thought, in the beginning there's void, and darkness is on the face of the deep. Now, that stuck in my mind for a long time. And as I grew in awareness, I begin to love science. And when I love science, to me, science is religion. And I know how the people of old in many years ago, they didn't have a whole lot to do except to write what they see and understand, which is beautiful in itself. And then it comes down to us, sort of a little bit twisted sometimes, because translation is not always perfect, but perfect enough for a person who's aware to appreciate what they read. And you can't take too much of it. I open the Bible every now and then. Ah, that's interesting. Close book. And then it multiplies. Oh, I see that. It's an awareness. Your awareness is increased. And you say, oh, wow, I never saw that before. Yeah. So, coming back to, in the beginning, there was the void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. And then God said, let there be light. Well, a couple of years ago, I said, wow, wait a minute. Science is talking about a Big Bang. No, it means a little universe has become a big universe. Who made the universe so small, the size of a pinhead? It's only a pinhead that thinks that way. Bang. No, that is like an explosion, and you can't create order with explosions. You can't have order. The atomic bomb doesn't explode. An explosion means explosion. Yeah. So it had to be something other. So if you don't mind me just being a little bit scientific, a little bit. And so, because I'm just sharing with you that you may not understand it, but they did. Those who wrote the Bible, the beginning, that's why I said the beginning is absolutely astonishing. The first few words, in the beginning. Wow. But in the beginning, there must have been a void. There's got to be nothing, right? And he says, in the beginning, there was a void. And a void is, and now stop for a minute. What do they mean by a void? It means an infinitely extension in every direction, if you can call it, but there is no direction. There's no words for anything in the void. It's the absolute cold. There's nothing, absolutely nothing. In the beginning, there was the void. That's interesting. But then, how can scientists say, how can they speak about something that is called a singularity? That's the word for it. Recently, they've used the word singularity. It's something infinitely hot. Infinitely means it's always hot. So therefore, I see, in scientific terms, I've taken this at least from the Bible. What he means is, you see, scientists are atheists mostly. So, but they got to explain. They have to say there's got to be something infinitely hot for the universe to begin. But how does something infinitely void in the void? How can it make anything? It can't make anything. You can't take nothing, absolute nothing, and make anything out of it. There's got to be. So here it is. Go ahead. No. You got it. Yeah. So look how simple this is. Biblically, I'm writing this stuff, but I'm just going to share it with you. You don't have to be a scientist. You can actually understand, and then you know there's a God. Nothing cannot produce something. Correct? True. It doesn't have any intelligence. It's just nothing. And that's the void. In the beginning, there was nothing. And that's infinite. And infinite, it's hard to say. Infinite means it goes on forever. Now that's very important, because if it wasn't for that infinitely cold, infinite void, there couldn't be a universe. You have to have a space in to make a universe. But then God doesn't need to make a space. It's just nothing. But all of a sudden, we hear, in the beginning there was the void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. That's really saying it. And all of a sudden he says, let there be light. Now, scientists, trying to be clever, first of all said there's a Big Bang. And then the universe was all fixed together, all the parts there, they just blew up, but that's an explosion. You see, and it's an explosion, is a nuclear bomb. It has no structure. You can't make structure out of it, not possible. So in the beginning, there was the void, and all of a sudden, and darkness is on the face of the deep. That's the beginning. And then God said, let there be light. Now where did this singularity, this infinitely hot thing, which the scientists say exists, but they can't see it? It has to exist, because if the universe is expanding, right? They say the universe, they've actually measured it, and the temperature is the same as it expands. You have an infusion of energy, correct? You have to. You have a balloon. It won't blow up until you put energy into it. Mm-hmm. See, so the infinitely hot is still there somewhere, outside the universe. See, and it's flowing into the infinitely cold. If there wasn't something infinitely cold, it couldn't flow. If a river coming from a lake flows down, and there's no river to welcome it, it will stop flowing. There's no more energy. It stops. The void is as important as the infinitely hot. But now, the void didn't have to be created, but the hot, something infinitely hot, let there be light. That is where did that came from? Now, if I talk to physicists, they will run away from me, because it's too much for them. It's because they're intellectuals. And the intellectuals can't handle intuitive stuff. They can't believe that there's a God. I said, well, how do you figure that it got there? What is infinitely? What is infinitely hot? Something infinitely marvelous and is infinitely wonderful, like a God. Only God could do that. Only God can do that. And he needs the infinitely hot. He needs the expanse of the void to grow, to flow from one into another. And the river flows into the ocean, so does the infinitely hot flow into the cold, and the cold regresses, and the energy follows. That's gravity. Now, that's the beginning of gravity. It's not the whole thing. It's just you're now a scientist, because you know more than they do. You work on that. You pick up a simple book on physics. They all say there's something hot, infinitely hot. Infinitely. What could make something infinite is something that's more infinite. So you have to know there's a God. And now I'm a little Jewish boy. I don't know anything science, but I'm given the interest. First of all, I'm given the ability to help you see, because I can see. And then you can see, I can see, and it's magic.
And thank you for that.
See. And but the whole idea, what you helped me begin the program with, I always like to have a question.
Talking about physics, talking about science, I've realized in the last few months that they have free energy. It's a machine that pulls energy out of the area around it, and it makes electricity.
Well, yes, but you know,
They took it.
you have a generator. You got. We won't go into that.
Yeah, okay.
We don't want to go into that
Right.
because we know generators need energy to make them produce energy.
It-
How about energy being taken from the field? From
Yes,
from
yes, from the energy around.
yes, yeah, but they don't have anything. They have a machine that it disturbs them, and I know. But the minute they say it disturbs them, they got a machine, and if as long as there's a sun shining, it produces electricity, and it's got lots of wires and things like that. And they find that it tends to want to rise when you turn on the electricity, that's propulsion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is, what disturbs them is that instead of having gravity as you move forward, gravity pushes back. They find that gravity is not pushing back; it's disappeared, and they're very disturbed because they don't understand what I understand. I know why that's the case. If they've found something, they don't know what it is. They found something because when you're taking energy out of gravity, whatever it is, then the resistance decreases. And therefore, in other words, it's sucking, and therefore it's not resisting. And it disturbed them. I say, yeah, they answer something. And I'm trying to reach them. I'm trying to reach them to show them they got something.
Yes.
But they're afraid. They put it away.
Yeah,
They had it for 15, 20 years.
true.
And they're afraid of it because their laws, they don't understand what gravity is. They have no idea what it is. They don't know it's a push or a pull, but they know how to do equations from it, see.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is. Gravity flows through itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you move towards it, if you can make it, if you can suck on it, then you have less resistance. You see? And they've got something. They have it, but they're afraid. Hello.
Hi.
But anyway, I'm not trying to give you a science. Can you follow that? Is it not hard to follow? Whether you know more than they do. And so I talk about on the air, hoping to physicists to, say, hey, this man knows what he's talking about. I do. And one of the reasons is because I understand the Creator. I understand there has to be something superhuman. See, beyond the void, another dimension that is a place where we go when we die. Now, you see where the awareness comes from. It's a gift, and it's called intuition. Intuition is not the same as outtuition. You do not want outtuition except you can recognize it. So when you go to school and you want to become a physicist, let's take this because it makes the point with physics more so than anything else. If you want to be a physicist, you should not be pressured to remember verses and chapters of physics. It should be shown to you, explained to you, and if you see it, it's yours. And if you read your Bible with for spirituality, now we're speaking, I think that physics is spiritual. It has a God, see? And the evidence of a God, the evidence of a fiery thing that lasts forever and a void that goes forever is forever and it never will collapse. They just find out that when they look through the telescopes, they build bigger and bigger telescopes, so they see further and further, and eventually they can't see anything at all but now they got bigger telescopes, and they find that it goes on forever. It could be trillions, uncountable.
Got a question. Do you believe in flying saucers?
Well,
I mean,
I don't see my.
I'm
I don't.
being funny. I'm
you mean
being
the
funny.
saucer I had my cup on?
Yeah.
No, they say that, what do you call it, this free energy.
There's no free energy yet, but it's available if you know what it is.
It is.
Now I know what it is.
Okay,
I know exactly what it is.
okay, so it's there.
Yes. I can tell you something just for the fun of it. Do you know what AC current is?
Yes,
Do you know what DC current is?
it's batteries.
It's just
Positive and
a battery.
Positive
Yeah,
and
you can hold it. You can hold each side. You can go in your car and put your hands on what do you call them, on this
terminals.
terminals. Yes. Okay, and you wouldn't get a shock. All right, you run it through a wire, and then you turn it off and on, off and on. Right, Zzz, it's 60 cycles a second for AC, right? So, who was it discovered electricity? No. Tesla. Yeah, Tesla. He discovered AC. Now, I remember seeing a movie, a real one. I think they had something similar to that, giving you a picture of what happened. They had a hotel, and in the basement there was a DC generator and an AC generator, and the AC generator made the lights much brighter than the DC. Now, what I'm trying to say is the pure electricity, the pure current, doesn't make and break. It's like a battery, and so that is normal electricity. Even though it can be, you can make it stronger and stronger and stronger and light up things, but when it stops and starts, zzz, all of a sudden you have much more power. Why is that? It's taking power. It's not more. What do they say? I'm looking for words. More sufficient. No, more. Help me with this word.
Oscillation.
No. It's not more. It's not more efficient. They think of it's more efficient, but I say it's more. Because the original gravity is DC. That's normal gravity. That's where you find in the universe. But if you vibrate, if you put it through a coil, just like you would, with ordinary gravity, ordinary electricity, you have a tremendous amount more. But they will see it only as more efficient. It's not more efficient, it's more. If you take, this is what comes to me, see. If you take the pylons, what do you call those things that carry the wire on the side of the road? Not telephone. They're not telephone poles. It carries. Huh?
Power poles.
Power poles, yes. Okay, so if you drive your car nearby, it washes out your music.
Yeah.
And you're maybe 100 yards away from it. Now, there was an experiment done where people had fluorescent tubes, and between the two pilings, let's call them pilings, I don't remember that now, you could have 17 people, 170 people light up. And I know light up, and you wouldn't miss it. So you could put a station for electric car between the pilings all the way from Niagara Falls to New York. And what you do, you'd be able to energize your car for no cost at all. Nobody's going to tell you this. No cost at all, because it's more. And then you have to ask yourself, why is it more? I can't tell you that because I have to sit here all day and explain that to you. Why would it be more? I know why. It's only because I appreciate a blade of grass. And so you're not going to tell me anything. You're not going to say to me, well, it's more. It's more efficient. Yes, it's more efficient, but it's more than that. There's more. Then we have to ask, if that's the case, why is it more? I'll tell you that, but not now. Now, what I'm trying to say is I'm self-educated. Now, in some things I might be wrong, see, but I'm not wrong with this. I've written a thesis on it. See, so I'm just keeping that a secret, how it's done. But anybody who's listening right now, they hold it. They may know the truth of it, but they're holding it back. True. It's all right. You've got free energy. Would be a smart business thing with electric cars. If it's true, you pay a small amount of money, and New York still gets its power because it's all wasted all the way around. It's all going away. So you might as well use it. Sure. You put a filling station every couple of miles, and or a house near there, and nobody wants to have a house nearby there, I imagine, but it would be good for cars.
There's energy in atoms.
No, you're starting on the wrong.
Okay.
You're beginning to get too scientific when you don't know how to ask a question. I don't mean to be rude.
True.
See, I'm only saying these things because
I'm interested.
Yeah, you're interested, and I thought that you would appreciate the fact that there's things that physicists do not want to know because they're atheists, and it has to be atheistic. See, and
that makes sense.
See, I like to everything I am given has been given to me. I didn't invent that. I see I'm intuitive, and so at some point, you will begin to start to see. Oh, I see that. Oh, I see that. Oh, wow! I really see that. But you can't tell anybody because they don't see it. Then you may not have the language for it.
Do you believe there's other life on other planets? I mean, like a heaven?
I don't know.
Do you believe there's something like another Earth?
I don't know.
In this?
But I don't think God would make endless
No, I don't
universe.
I mean different.
Yeah, no, but not. I'm not saying. I'm thinking of the question: is a intelligent life in
Do we
other?
transport to another place?
I don't care about that right now.
Okay.
It's too much for me right now.
Okay.
I have enough already. But what I have could make it possible to get there. See?
Can I change the direction, not what you're saying, but just apply it in a new way?
Any way you want to say it.
So instead of talking about the energy that's in the universe, gravity, and how it manifests itself in different ways, what you're saying is that with a void, the energy comes into the void and energizes and builds and fills. What about inside of us? What about inside of us?
Let's say it again.
What about inside our soul? If our soul is filled with the wrong energy, The
Yes.
right energy cannot
Correct.
flow.
Correct.
And all you have to do is be contented with the void, that is the absence of the wrong energy, and the new energy comes in.
That's right.
And it starts to flow in ways you cannot believe.
Well, see, the thing is, you have to be empty.
You have to want, you
have
have
to
to
be
be
empty.
hungry to be empty.
But when you're full of it, there's no room for it.
And God is, in your exploration of physics, God is showing this same lesson everywhere you look.
Everywhere you look.
Every part of life, he's showing this same lesson, that the emptiness brings a filling.
Yes.
If you fill the emptiness through your pride, it will never happen.
That's correct. And so the emptiness you fill with intellect. See, a lot of you have. Look, it's not. I was born a little bit different from other people. There are other people like myself, of course. I know I'm not alone, but there's nobody with a microphone, so it doesn't get anywhere except for the person himself goes to heaven, so to speak. He does the best he can and helps people around him, but there aren't too many of those. See? And what were you saying just now?
Well, you said you were born different.
I was born different, see, because I was left alone. I had a good dad. There's something special about him. He never said much to him. To me, because he was looking for work, and he could do anything. He actually was very good at skill, every kind of skill, 11 languages. But he just left me alone, and I felt like there was a canopy over me that kept me from the world. Because everybody today, especially the reason why we have so much suffering, nearly half the country is demoralized, and not working and getting money from welfare, and becoming entitled, and therefore degraded, because they're being fulfilled by other people's money and other people's work, and so they feel they feel themselves important. See, special. There's another word for that, and disappeared for me. Entitlement. Entitled. Yes, the word. Yes, and that's a very dangerous thing. But see, if you feed the entitled, he feels like he's a god. He feels, and he's always becoming less and less and less and less, because the dark side is leading him on to becoming more dependent on the reassurance of the darkness that rises to the occasion of his need to feel better than he deserves. And that's why you're running in the streets, and our enemies know that. Marxists understand we have a Marxist country almost. See, they're preparing us for complete demolition. But we got it in time. There's enough people in time. Enough people, you see, that got sensible. You see, the good people will pick up their garbage when they have a picnic. And the others who are entitled, they just leave the garbage where it is. You can tell which one's which. See, one that has an understanding. It's not all about them. The love that we have is all about not making people happy. We got to be careful of words here. See, because we do want to do nice things for people, but we got to be very careful that we don't get in the way of doing it. In other words, we make people happy. We love making people happy, because people then will give us a sense of worth for giving them, because they need to be. A lot of people are miserable, they have anxieties and fears. You come along and you love them, but you don't know, that you don't realize that you're playing God. Now there's another side to this, but I just want to finish this part. So the tendency for a person who's lost himself is to get the idea, which is correct, that he needs to love his neighbor. See? But he could be lusting his neighbor and calling it love. He could be enabling his neighbor, enabling him to be worse and feeling good about it when you're only making the person more dependent on you. Until he begins to hate you for some reason he doesn't know. Because he feels less and less and less human and more dependent on you, which you're not God. And he feels the darkness crawling all over him. See that? And so this is coming into a realm that I normally wouldn't be able to say, but the science thing is beginning to shape our discussion here a little bit better. And so it's not about us. It's about what love is. And unless you find the intuitive love, the one that's intuitive, not outuitive, unless you can find his love for you, which is endless, then if you don't find it, you're giving of yourself. And you can actually die from cancer. Cancer, there's a certain cancer. Leukemia is the one. And that's the one where you tend to give off yourself love to other people. But you're actually being drained. Once they start to enjoy that, they begin to want more from you. And then pretty soon, and they don't know, they don't realize that you are not a good person, but you're a person trying to be good. See, so therefore, since it works, and the person that you love loves you, and maybe it's your teacher, it could be your person you work for, right? And you could be an employee, and you give more, and you give more, and you give more, and you get rewarded. This guy is smart. No, you may not realize he may be very good at what he does, but if that person is doing that to love somebody, and he's getting it back, it works for him, or it doesn't really, but it seems like it's working for him. I've got one of my sons who's got that problem. The more he gives, the more people like him, and then become codependent, and then get angry because they feel like they're becoming a slave, but they don't say it, and then they start to rebel and get even and try to get rid of you, and then you think you haven't. He thinks he has to do more to see that he literally. It's dangerous. I can't get to him yet. Can't get to him because he's intoxicated with it. Intoxicated with the idea, and then he gets angry if you don't appreciate him. See? And I don't appreciate it because if I appreciate it, I become an enabler. See? So what we need to do is understand that whether we can love our neighbor, but we can actually destroy our neighbor by loving them. And Obama knows how to love you with somebody else's money. And make you addicted.
Is Social Security wrong?
Oh no, you're going in the wrong. Yeah, of course. No, there's a value of virtue. There's a good way of doing the right thing, and there's a bad way of doing the right thing. The bad way is to control you. See? But you have to have a lot of money you steal from other people. Otherwise, it suck it out of yourself. See, it won't be left.
The key is helping somebody who's willing to help themselves. If you're going to help somebody, they've got to be some kind of little spark in there for them to get out and improve some way. Otherwise, you're just wasting your energy. That's how I see it.
Say it again. Stand up so I can hear you.
The key to helping somebody is if they got that little spark in them and they're willing to do something to help themselves. In other words, otherwise you're filling a vacuum.
Well, I'm not quite sure I get it, but what you're saying. But if you're going to love, you have to have eternal love, not infernal love. And we don't know the difference. We can use the same language to call lust love and true love love. See? So language really needs to be understood in many cases. And so when Obama says, and he's a pleasant person and a nice, comely person in appearance, I am going to do what Trump did, but he's saying it in a different way. I promise you to, oh dear.
Fundamentally transformation. Fundamental.
What was it?
Fundamental
Fundamental transformation. And I immediately saw it meant this. The other persons, not to intuition, got what we got. And we couldn't stand one more of those. We were almost on the edge of it. And you see this, the spoiled ones in the streets being cut off. They're terrible. They're all addicted to, loyal to that which rose to the occasion of their needs, but really black, if you know what I mean. Not black, but dark, see. And it's in them. And they love their bully. They love their Führer. And they see us as evil.
Yep.
See that? All upside down. So he's a sociopath. A sociopath is a person that's so beautiful you think he's God. But the point is, some of you may put me on a pedestal and then wonder why I can't help you. See, because if you put me on a pedestal, then I'm the God. And immediately I'm blocked, even though I'm not saying, I'm warning you, don't do this, but you still can do it at the same time and not know you're doing it. Sometimes you have people calling me on the radio program. And I've been listening to you for 30 years. I said, you've had me on a pedestal for 30 years, no wonder. You're trying harder and harder and harder, sending me more and more money. See, or wishing you had your money back, resenting me for it, see. How many times do I say, don't put me in the pedestal, I'm an ordinary man. But I'm not extraordinary. I don't have your weaknesses. I don't have your kind of love. I don't have your kind of hate. Because the Bible also says about, I know what that word is, oh dear, I wish I could say it. But the point is if I could remember the exact words, it says, be angry. No. See, I have to read it from the scripture now. I have to go now look at the book because it says something to do with you can be strong, like throwing out the
Be angry and sin not.
Huh?
Be angry and sin not.
Be angry and sin not.
Yeah.
Remembered it.
Yeah.
Be angry and sin not.
Yeah. Don't be too
Those two words together is really worth it. Thank you for that. That's really sent. See, but it's there. Be angry, but not an anger. See, again, there's another way of being angry. There's a way of love that isn't love, and there's a way of being angry that isn't angry. See, so you can be angry. You can punch somebody on the nose or throw people out of the temple. You know, all the people with doubt. Yeah, the money changers. But he's not angry. Be angry and sin not. It is like it sort of twists in your head a little bit. But you see, there's a right way of love, and there's another thing that isn't right, that takes or forces you to give. Yes.
You know, that particular scripture, be angry and sin not, that's the one that from my experience, most of the Christians use that to justify their anger, which is not a good anger. They use it in in a wrong way. And there's another scripture that comes to mind that says, it says, the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. So
You didn't give me the whole piece of that.
but that's the whole piece, yeah.
Let's say it again.
The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God.
Oh, that's right. That's
yeah,
right. The wrath
So,
of
but,
yeah. I
but,
didn't hear it.
but the point I'm making is that most of the people that I talk to that who use that scripture, they use it as an excuse, as a way of justifying something that's very unrighteous and ugly.
Language is very sensitive, see, in that sense. And we could have other examples of that. But I think those two examples are very important about anger and love, because it's the center of it. It's the substance of it. What do you know about the language? You have to recognize the language that there is lust and love, called love, and lust that is, and love that is really love. It means love that comes up doesn't come from you; it comes through you, and therefore is everlasting. So as long as you live, if I could make a picture of it, and the picture I like to paint in your head is, imagine me trying to learn surfing, see, and even young. And in the beginning, you can't hardly stand on it when the waves are this big.
Yeah.
And then, but by enjoying it and going forward, slowly but surely, you begin to get the natural strength from it. And one day, you can actually have fun going down a 50-foot wave without worrying about getting killed. See? So it's the same thing with love. The more you love, the more love you can give. But you're growing in strength of it. Now, you have to understand what strength is. It's substance. It is it happens to be the spiritual substance that you're drawing from or being given to, see. So the more you love, the more love you have to give.
Because it's not your love.
Huh?
Because it's not your love.
It's not my love.
You're growing
It's
in
him
grace.
love. It's me being the agent of change. And then I don't feel it. See, you do not feel like you're giving anything. You don't even know you're giving anything. There is a saying in, what's the Mexican language? Spanish. See, my vocabulary is disappearing, but you can help me a little bit. Is gracias, right? Yeah, de nada. Now, it's got a sweet sound to it anyway, but it's just beautiful in the sounding of it. And it means you pull a man out of the water, he's going to drown. All you have to do is put your hand out and pull him in. And he says, gracias. And the other person says, de nada, it's nothing. It's all there. I don't own you. Otherwise, the person would feel like he owes him something. And that person may actually want to go on doing that, even though you don't want it, but you have to let him and not take advantage of it. And then when he finds himself being angry with you, say, well, the reason is I said you didn't have to. It was nothing. Why are you doing this? You're secretly angry with me because you got pulled out of the water, but you feel obligated. So there may be a moment for that to happen. See, to explain how to give a relief of the person that's giving himself too much. Or you could stop him very easily if you are accompanied by him over a period of time, a short period of time. Say, look, you keep on thanking me. Try doing the same thing as I do. doing things nice for other people. But you see, when you do things nice for other people, you don't notice it. When you pull the man out of the water, it's nothing to pull the man out of the water. It doesn't cost anything, really, does it? The love that God gives you is a gift. It's an eternal gift. But the other one, there's an infernal gift, because you will do something to get something. And you keep on giving and giving. If the person doesn't appreciate you, you get angry and you look for somebody else to give yourself to. See? And pretty soon you get cancer. That is, if you look at the children in the hospitals, most of them have been drained by mother. Insecure women, having a bad parents, and a cruel mother, and drains her, or is cruel to her. In her little head, she says, when I grow up, I'm going to be the best mother. I'm going to love my kids. I'm not going to be like my mother. But every woman, we're talking about women like this, men too, but it's just that use women as the natural nurturer, okay? Every person on earth who has been burned by their parents, but especially by mother, all hell comes to the women anyway, because men pull it forward. They pull it up because they think that lust is love. There they are. They're becoming addicted to it, and the wife runs away, or she gives it and gives it and gives it until she can't anymore, and he beats her because he can't. He has to have it, or goes to somebody else to get it. See, his horror. It's not to understand that you have life within you forever. And you need virtue for that. So it's not all about you. Love is not all about you. It's about you being the vehicle. See, the emissary of it. And so you will not feel like you're doing any good. You won't even notice it. But other people will notice it. And you are saved in a sense, in a different sense. So where bullies would want to hurt you, they will come up and for some reason walk away or try to intimidate you, and not being able to do so is disturbing because he doesn't understand. So, in other words, what that person would be doing to you, you don't even feel anything. But the reason is because you've given yourself over to a different master. You can't have two masters. You will love the one and not the other. Isn't that the script? That's the scripture, isn't it? Basically, so when you react, when you're caused to react, when you come into the world, you have conflict because as a child you have intuition, and with that intuition you can see the faults of your parents, of everything, but the parents and the people around you hate you for that. They're impatient with you. See? And you can see the parents being nicer to the ones that are spoiled than the one that is not spoiled. See? And then you, as an individual little kid, you carry this idea: why do my father and mother talk to be nice to my brothers and sisters and not me? I see what they're doing. They're just stealing and doing whatever they shouldn't be doing. I mean, it's just, those are just words, but it's all just no words. You see it, see, and you can see it because I just put it in words, and it vaporizes, and you can see it clearly. And so the mother, who was hurt, and she could also the mother who was hurt by a cruel mother, and the father not being able to know what to do with that. See. So she inherits the same thing, but she makes up her mind, I don't want to be like her. Or she will be like that and doesn't know it. But the one that's more aware, or wants to do the right thing. And so I'm going to be the best mother. All right, see, and now it's not the same thing as mothering. The dark side has got you because you're angry with your mother and you feel guilty and you feel like the guilt says you've got to be better than that. But the dark side is talking to you. And every woman ever born, when they have the same, this is the words they hear in their head. When I grow up, I'm going to be the bestest mother that ever could be. And same with dads too. See? And so then she has children, and she may have two types of children. But remember, she has been broken by her mother. See, and upset and embolden the mother to hurt her more. See? And scream. And then she's empty. And this empty woman gets married, and she has a child. There's other things to it. I'm just going to short circuit it just a little bit. But she's, in every person's mind is the exact words in every language. Nothing new. It repeats itself over and over again. That's why I write books, and you can say, oh, there it is. I'm that, see? So that this mother is loving too much, but it's lusting for the life of the child. Because a child is not, if you love a person and obligate them to give you something back, which is love, which you think of as love, appreciation, what you're doing is manipulating the person, make them codependent, so they're not free. And deep down inside, they have anger, but they can't admit it. They feel guilty, and they'd have to do more good for their mama. And the boys can also be stuck with a mother who's 90 years old, and he's stuck with taking care of that mother. And the more he does something for her, the more mean she gets. And he can't understand it, but he's stuck with it, and he has to go back, and he doesn't know how to give himself, and then he starts to die from cancer or whatever it is, or blow his brains out. Can't stop. So what I'm talking about is psychology, which isn't exactly psychology as it's known. That's the reason why I can help people where they can't. See, because it's spiritual. What's wrong with your head is spiritual. It's just noises and sounds, and who do you... And so when you come into the world gets into you, especially in your family. That's where it all begins, and then it carries on in the schools. It's all it's spiritual warfare. It's very hard to wake people up, though. There was people like yourself, sir, that appreciated what I said, and the dark side disappears, correct? You didn't need an exorcism. But other people would be rolling on the floor, screaming. See? But you got it. It's nice inside. Bless your little cotton socks.
Thank you.
But you see, the discussion I had today, I didn't mean to take you to be scientists, but there's...
It's interesting.
Huh?
It's interesting.
It is, isn't it? Did anybody sort of not understand why I was saying, talking to you a little bit about science? Because it's spiritual. I'm trying to get the sense of you that the universe is still being built. It will never, ever, ever stop being built. And what for? Well, the closest planet, Mars, you're not going to be able to live there. Who wants to live there? I mean, you have to live inside special houses you build, and you can't grow things like you want to do. No, there must be places like us somewhere, but rare. See, just rare. It seems like the rest of it is filled. It's necessary for some reason, which I don't know.
Are there different levels of heaven? I think so, I remember something, there was 7
Well, yeah, but that's not
levels.
important, is it?
Okay,
See, it isn't important.
okay.
It's important
Find
that...
out when you get there.
No, it isn't, because if I told you there was, you'd strive for it. And if you strive for it, you lose. It's a gift. And practice the gift. And in practicing the gift, you're obeying. Remember, the principle is you can't honor good or evil. You have to choose good or evil. You can't have both. See? And so many of us are caught up in that when we come into this world because of parents inherited it from their parents all the way back to the generations of where Adam and Eve was made. But Adam did it willfully, but children don't come into the world like that with a choice.
To forgive is to break the chain.
Pardon?
To forgive is to break the chain.
That's correct. But I was saying that is a truth. It breaks the chain, but it is the chain never. You can't break the links. Once you have understood that of yourself you could do nothing, and realize your emotions are animalistic and derogatory, or what word that means, dangerous. But you must understand that motion is death. Any emotion. Now, does it mean to say you have no emotions? No, it does. I have emotions, but I'm not in conflict with emotions that are triggered from the inside.
Happiness.
You understand that? It carries a different something or other, and it gives you appreciation for the giver. And you may never see the giver. You'd melt. It's enough. But what you're doing is, for the person who does things harm to people and lives off the reaction of a person, so you give off an energy field, and he sucks it in. When people intimidate others to kill the soul, and so it effervesces like an Alka-Seltzer. You give off an energy, and they suck it up like a cannibal, eating your spirit. See that? You're giving the power
friend.
to that person. You can't say no to them until you die. You're not free.
Yeah.
But God frees you from all that. And He gives you love. And you don't know you have it. It will keep you. Listen, regardless of the trials and tribulations, you will come through it and become better because of it. I went through the trials and tribulations of medicine, and you know the story. I got a parasite from swimming, and went through everything. And noticed the doctors really don't know what they're doing. They are valuable. If you have your finger chopped off, they can put it back on again, as a kind of thing. And they are necessary, but they only know they have a little piece of it, and that they can do something for you. But to sum it up, even if they mess you up, somehow, see, they mess me up, God knows how many times, I come back to normal. I mean, with my heart, I go swimming, I get a parasite inside me, and for 4 years they didn't know what it was. And then one day, a doctor friend of mine, he's a cancer specialist. He says, I've talked to all my friends, all my doctors. We don't know what's wrong with you, but I said, I'm dying. So I was. And so he brings me in a whole pile of books, big fat ones. I'm not going to read that. On top of it was a little tiny book called the Merck Manual. And I opened it. It's Godsend. See this? I'm not going to read the big books. No way. A little book on just small pamphlet, little pamphlet-like. And on one page it says parasite. I said, that's it. I go to the doctor and give me the medicine, metronidazole. And within 3 days I was better. But then I had heart problems. But then I needed to, it was 4 years later. I was suffering, but no anger, suffering, looking for ways of making myself better, drinking sauerkraut juice and distilling it. From one bottle you can make 100 bottles, So you let them simmer. But anyway, the doctor took the vein from my leg and pulled it out, cut the little pieces and put it in my heart, which only lasts you 3 years. And so I had no other problems with respect to all that. And these other problems caused me to experience I was having another heart attack because all of the symptoms were the same. See, all the symptoms and the chemistry. It tells you that it's the heart. See, so I go to Cedars-Sinai Hospital and they look inside me and see nothing wrong with me at all. And so they just looked at the heart and they put the stick in there. And he says, I've got good news and bad news. What do you want? I said, give me the bad news first. He said, your bypass failed. I said, well, what's the good news? He says, well, you've got brand new arteries, brand new. They're still working today. 17 years back, my blood pressure is 110/60. I come back. And it's the same thing with bladder and other things. I went through it all.
How about the back?
Oh, never mind. It's so many things. I had to tell the doctor what to do to get rid of some bacteria in me that I forgot the name of the infection. It will come back to me when I don't need it. You know how that is. And the doctor was giving me shots, but the point is, it was not effective. I said, let me take a syringe and put it right where it should be, right on. He said, that's a good idea. It killed that germ that couldn't be otherwise killed. In other words, I was able to discover how to do something that he didn't dare to do. Mm-hmm. See that? And so, along the journey, I've learned about. See, I didn't get the sickness from being emotional or anything like that. It had to come a different way, because if it came from the way everybody else gets it, being resentful and angry and all, it models it. But I never lost my awareness. And so the awareness allowed me to go through all these terrible things and almost dying several times. It's a story. And I mean, the last one was, because I took all the medicine all these years, couldn't digest food. because all the medicine destroys all the original, what's inside you. And so I would have heart problems. I mean, it's very painful. But I learned that half the men who have heart attacks, when you do a post-mortem, there's no sign of any plaque. So what killed them? It's gas. You can't, they've been having, in other words, modern people have lots of problems, but a lot of the problems are caused by the cure itself. See, the medicine especially destroys the stomach juices. I forget what you call them. It's acid, but you can't give it back to the person once it's poisoned. You really can't. Maybe just a little bit, but when you take medicines and medicines and medicines, you can't really you can't really
Match it. You can't match it.
Huh?
You can't match it. It's
No, it can't.
Your body does what
Yes.
medicines can't.
So the point is, what you got is gas, and it can't come from up, and it can't go up the other way. And it's pressing against, the gas is pressing against the heart. But how long did it take for me to, it took me about 15 years to understand, because every time they looked at me inside out, upside down, they couldn't see anything wrong. It took up just maybe a year ago to realize it's simple. All I need is to take a anti-acid, and I'm all right. That's simple. And take some probiotics, which help. But it's still not the best. But here I am. I'm getting on for 89. I should have been dead a long time ago. But the journey this is my journey. See, I'm an innocent guy. Not that I made a few mistakes, I did. But the point is, I saw I saw what it was when I was doing it. See, that's simple. Yes, sir.
You were talking earlier about awareness, and then you've been talking about medical challenges.
What was that?
You've been talking about medical challenges.
Yes.
And I've been taking much better care of myself, both spiritually and physically, in the past about year or so, and meditating and so forth. And I just in the past few months, I've had a few things that have been extremely painful, physically, in the past few weeks. I had an operation, and it was very painful in the
What
recovery.
operation was it?
I was getting some kidney stones out, and they said, oh, most people don't have a lot of pain afterwards. I had just incredible pain, and a few other things. But what I find is that physical pain really blocks my spiritual awareness because I'm so focused on the pain when it's really, really intense, and it spooks me,
Well,
because I start to
that
sort of
is-
lose hope that
May
I
I
can
suggest
hold on.
something? I've
Yeah,
been-
that's what I'd like.
Yeah.
Some suggestions.
Would you not think, after the things I've said, that I had the same thing?
Oh yeah. That's why
Okay.
I'm asking.
And a lot of it,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I got used to it. I'm aware that I'm in pain, but there's no fear. There's no worry. I'm just observing the pain and considering what I can do. And usually the answer is there, or it goes away. And that's the way it works. In other words, Jesus, can you imagine Jesus being tortured? I mean, demoralized, attempt to demoralize him in the worst of ways that you couldn't possibly understand. And then being humiliated by being put on a cross and then put nails in his feet and arms and let him, what did he say? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. In other words, he felt the pain. He could get rid of the pain, but that wouldn't be the same thing. He has to be a human being and know what it is to be a human being, and to get past the humanness into divinity, you see. And so he suffered the pain and humility that leads to the physical aspect on the cross. And so the pain must have been terrible. Well, there's no resentment towards it. It's pain. It's what it is. Leave it alone. Just watch it and be with it, and not be irritated by it, because when you're irritated by it, it will make it worse. You have to learn to deal with your. I just remember a story. It was a bullfighter, and as we saw, it was video. You could see it, and the matador got bored with the bull, and you see you see up close, he is in agony. You know, he's been torn to pieces, and everybody's fussing all around him, and he's staying perfectly calm, and speaks quietly and speaks to them, watching it. But all these people doing the best they can. He must have been in terrible pain. And then he died. But the thing is, he didn't get angry at it. See? There's more to the story. But I never forgot the fact how brave he was, and not affected by. I know the pain was terrible, but still he held himself as himself, and not suffered, and not being sucked into the pain. See? So you have to deal with pain differently, and you will be able to do that. Just be aware of it, because then being aware of it will also lead you to an answer outside, but it will be also on an answer on the inside, and it will guide you to one way or the other, so you never lose.
If I'm not mistaken, one that you have on, I think it's on your Cure Stress, you have a meditation on pain too, that I don't know if that gentleman's aware of it or not.
Yes, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
It helps you to endure it, what I'm saying. You need to endure pain without being angry, because then you are losing ground, and you can die from that when you could have lived. Be a man, be a woman, real person. You can hide it, you know, and not look for. You can still look for answers outside too. See, I'm open to anything. It could be an inside answer and it could be an outside answer. But if you're calm, it will find its own way. I don't know how I got here, because I didn't have an education. And people ask me, how do you get this way? I just listen to my heart. That's the way I put it. So I'm aware that language is disappearing for me. And I'm not so smart as I was when I was younger. Quick. But still, I have all the values of my life. See, my memory is not that good. You see, you can catch me in that. But still, I'm communicating, finding different ways. And anybody else could be awkward sitting here, not having the language that I used to have. But somehow I got the essence of it every time. And it's the less I say, the more spirit, that you catch it more spiritually. You can actually hear what I'm saying, and your vocabulary can pick it up. You can say it better than I can. And then I say, that's it.
We're learning your vocabulary in the sense that your vocabulary doesn't need the words. And so we're learning to listen without the words.
That's
It's the
right.
magic.
See, you don't need, excuse me, you don't need a big vocabulary. And much of the vocabulary disappears as you get older, but what you're holding on to is the essence of it all. Because the bigger the vocabulary, the more you reach out into the world and are more respected by the world with you.
But it gets
So-
in the way.
Huh?
The vocabulary gets in the
It
way
does,
of the
yes,
truth.
It does. Too much cleverness with words, see, unnecessary, but makes you feel important. See. So there's humility. I'd like to have a better vocabulary, but yet I think I can say whatever I want to say with 800 word basic English. Who knows? Here I am in one piece and talking to you and enjoying every minute of it. And I think you have grasped something today. And you can't put your hand on it really, but it's awareness. It's all you need. And then you don't have to help your awareness. You just have to, I don't know. What's that mean? Wait for it. Don't try too hard to try to figure it out. I was just sitting all day. We sat in the living room yesterday, Saturday. And the TV is boring. And I just sit for hours. And that's where I'm talking about electricity. I've thought of it before, but it came back. And it came back with a better answer of why it's more. Oh, but I'm not going to go into that now. All of a sudden, electricity pops into my mind. I'm sitting quietly, and the thoughts are here, the thoughts are there. Nothing serious. I'm calm. All of a sudden, out of the blue. This is the real reason why it's more. You're right. You got it right, but just a little bit not so right. But it's close. You got the answer. You got the evidence in the sense you know it's so, but you don't know exactly why it's so. See, I got exactly why it's so.
That's why I'm here.
Well, gravity flows through itself, collisionlessly. That's all I can tell you. I don't want to give it away. Gravity flows through itself. It's called collisionless. So only when it spins does it manifest a particle with a curve around it, which is time. Like the bow wave of a boat going through the water, or you sit in the middle of a stream, and the stream represents future, and it flows around you as a curve, and pushes against you, and goes on to the past, into the next person sitting in the river. See? See? It defines the spin. So when gravity moves fast enough at a certain point, it will stop flowing through it itself and starts to spin. And the spin then get the little spin, which is the first dark matter. You can't see it; it's too small. it's pushing it along at a huge speed, but with a little tiny resistance of the particle itself is defined by the curving, the slight curving around it, which is time. So the dark matter has the same structure, same principle as big things. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and I can tell you a whole story about that, how matter grows. I can give you a little story. If you're in a river and you look on one side, you see the little eddies. That's a particle, basically, especially if it's moving. Whatever is causing it to spin is pushing it, and spinning it. It's like a little particle. And on the other side of the river, it goes the opposite. Okay? Now, if you stand in the middle of the river and look behind you, you see the water closing up. And if you look carefully, you see little spins coming together, and then it becomes normal. But in physics, it becomes matter. And the closing of the waves push them together. God will show you on the earth what it's like in heaven. There's always an example. There's the river flowing into the void. But you see, what it's really saying, where does the infinitely hot come from? The cold is already there, ready for the extension, which is momentum, energy, flowing from one thing to another. It's a heavenly battery. That's where it's all coming from. How the universe is created, I know how, but you see, to talk to scientists, they haven't got intuition like Einstein had intuition. See, there's a rare person who has intuition. It's easy to pick up what Einstein does and does something with it. And then you have your share of wondering things about things, and you become good at something. So I used to be good at two things. It's all melded into one. I just don't want to go into that right now. But it's awareness. It's all a matter of not filling that empty space with other than you. And you must be aware that when you become aware, you see the other than you, like you saw it, that moment. It caught you. That was the magic for your moment. You hold on to it. Well, time to go home. You have 20 minutes. I've cheated you by 20 minutes. But I can't do a talk less than 2 hours.
I know.
Well, because there's so much to say. And so many questions.
Well, everybody's listening, why?
Mm-hmm. So, one more question. Anybody else? Yes.
I have always wanted to share your message with my friends. Those who I have directed to the radio, they listen until you get into politics, because most of my friends are more liberal leaning.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem with, I can just pick up the
It's my
spiritual
mistake.
message, but their brain just shuts off.
I know.
And I don't know how to share your spiritual message.
I know it's hard. It's my fault. See, but it was necessary for me to have a country, for me to say the things I said about the left and the right. There's black men, black gentlemen and ladies, who how can I say this? They're democratic meanings that in the inner cities, the chief cook and bottle washer in the inner cities is a Democrat. How is it that they tend to, many black Americans, to be drawn to a Democrat that they hated when they were in the South? See, and then there's a black gentlemen who have overcome that and become beautiful gentlemen, beautiful black men. See, and so you've got two kinds of black men. One goes back to, because you see, when you're violated, the tendency is you're owned by the violator, and you don't know it. You hate it, but there's something of the hate in you of that person, and some this dislocation from God, and therefore you're unconsciously drawn back to be loved by the person that hates you. See that? And so you got people in the inner cities who are run by people that once made them slaves. But you see, others have overcome that, and so that's politics, left and right. And you see, the black gentlemen are sensible, and they're sensible just like white people are sensible. It makes no difference between us. And also, a white person who could also come from a very bad home and therefore become the thing they hate and become subject to those people are haters and the Führer, which is the one that's loved the most. See, because you have to look for the approval of the dark side of the force for its sense of worth, and the more you do it, the more you do unto others what was done unto you, and then you go back to a gang leader does the same thing. See.
What do you mean when you said it's my fault? When you said that, what did you mean by that?
I would say to you that you don't let them listen to me on radio, and then be what I'm explaining, what you understand how to be, but that by itself will do it. They'll say, you've changed lately, but what have you done? And I said, yes, it's true. Would you like to try something? I've got a little technique here. It's a 7-minute meditation. And why don't you give it a try? That's the best way. You don't want to proselytize. You don't need to. Wherever I go, is a sort of like an attraction to me. And I just speak to them in ways they expect. For example, a real quickie, and we can go. About 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I went to the Ford dealer because something was leaking from my radiator. So while they were fixing it, there was a lady standing there, and she smiled, and I smiled back at her, and she's smoking a cigarette. And so a conversation struck up. And I said, what do you do? She says, I do this. I forget what it was. And she said, what do I do? I said, I help people overcome smoking. And she says, you mean it? I said, yes. She said, how long does it take? I said, just about 10 minutes. And so I said, would you like to try it? Yes. She stopped smoking. And I gave her the reasons afterwards. It was effortless.
Yeah, she couldn't smoke anymore.
No. But you see, there's a magic. There's a black magic. With all due respect to black people, I don't mean it that way. But black magic, and there's white magic. And they're juxtaposed with each other. And people are infected with it. And it is like an infection. And it's an infection to the degree that they cannot see they're infected. They think of it as an illness, and medicine treats it as an illness, so that we've got so many illnesses you see every day on your television set. There's nothing else but something for something. See? As if every symptom is a sickness. No, every symptom comes from falling away from your Creator and trying to fix it yourself. And the medical society is getting bigger and bigger, and so they've got more and more drugs, and then which at some point is not much different from the drugs that you get from the dope pusher, because it does the same thing. It will make you feel better, but it will kill you more. It will keep you from seeing what's wrong with you, and keep going to different ones. When one doesn't work, you go to another one. This is not a life living by chemistry. So we go back to Jesus. All he went to do is touch them. All he needed to do is say a few things, and they wondered how everybody changed. I want you to know the Christians in those days, if you brought them back today, to the Christians of today, they would have persecuted them because they would have been enlightened. And the ones that have verse and chapter are not. I'm done. And support the program. I'm talking to the camera now. Hello, camera. And everybody's behind the camera. That means you're watching on television. Support the program, please. I need to get to now that we have please God, we have a different president, I may be able to work my way into the VA and save their lives. That's what I do best. So you don't have PTSD. Get out of here. Thank you very much.